Hello, welcome to another episode of Inside the Huddle. Today is Thursday, November 13th. This is episode 84 of the Inside the Huddle podcast. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Make sure to please like and subscribe. Appreciate the support, as always, here on YouTube. Another week, another episode, another week of football. Week 11. Crazy, continues to fly by. We're already halfway through November. We're already almost at the Thanksgiving Day games 2 weeks from today. We'll be watching football on Thanksgiving. Crazy, flying by soon. We're almost into December football, home stretch here, over halfway through the 2025 campaign. Lots to discuss, lots of news across the NFL this week on a little bit of a shorter week for us, but we got some coaching news. We got some quarterback news out of Cincinnati, potential Joe Burrow return that we'll discuss a little bit later on. And, of course, get you our underdog picks, as always, to close out the program. But, DiMari, another week of football is here. How's it going, man?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. It kind of just made me think. This is how teams feel when they have a Sunday and a Thursday. Because I'm just like, we're back so quick. But I mean, this is just for us shooting the episode. Now I understand the guys that try to rest, recover from Sunday to Thursday. But in the short week, it's been a lot of good stuff. Some stuff that we kind of expected that was going to go on. We have hopefully a pretty good game tonight. Thursdays and Mondays for some odd reason have been awful, like completely awful this season. But exciting that we, of course, get some football today and Sunday. Good slate on Sunday as well. Some very good games I'm looking forward to. Monday, not too much, but it's always great when we got football on throughout the week. So let's get into it.
Yes, both of our teams are on prime time. That's probably not a good thing for the
Awful,
NFL world.
awful idea.
Yes. Um, just hoping the Jets can keep it competitive tonight. And by the time some of you are listening to this, it might be Friday already, so you already know the outcome. But at the time of this recording, we're about 2 hours out from kickoff. So for now, just hope that the Jets can be competitive, don't get blown out. Same old Jets would get blown out of this game. You've shown some progress over the last 2 weeks here. Aaron Glenn has. Go out there and make this game and hopefully shock the world, but I doubt that happens. And for the Cowboys, you have to win against the Raiders, right?
Yeah.
That's it's right. They talk about must win, can't lose.
Yeah.
You make the trade for Quinn and Williams, you come off with a bye week, you cannot lose. Even though it's on the road, you can't lose to a 2-7 Raiders team.
I
So
mean, defense
gotta
is
find a way to
kind
win
of
that game.
back this week. Quentin Williams, like you said, is back. Logan Wilson, who we didn't talk too much about last
Yeah.
week, but another piece that they traded for. DeMarvion Overshown, I believe, is finally back healthy, ready to go. So you get some big time pieces back against Geno Smith and the Raiders. Just don't let Geno Smith torch you, because last time he did play the Cowboys, he was in Seattle. They scored 35 points on a Thursday night. So just hoping the defense shows up, because it's a must win for them. Absolutely.
Yes, definitely a big one there on Monday night. And just hopefully these games, like you mentioned, are better. Whatever the result is for the Jets, Cowboys, you hope that Philly provides a little bit more offensively against the Lions. You hope the Lions have a good night as well from just an entertainment standpoint on Sunday night. And you hope this game tonight can provide a little bit of fireworks, although Jets and providing fireworks does not usually mix very well. But either way, here we are. So another week ahead of us. But speak of New York, speak of some of the biggest news. Brian Daboll's out. He fired after another terrible start to the season. Giants currently sit right now, despite being in a lot of these games, sit at 2-8. Sunday was another blown lead. Sunday was another just giving a game away against Chicago. You had the blown game against Denver. They obviously had the loss against Dallas late where they blew it as well. So a Giants team this year that's blown a ton of games, a Giants team that you knew kind of coming into the year, if they got off to a slow start, you had the whole Jackson Dart question looming over them, where would they play Jackson Dart? Would they not play Jackson Dart? Depending on Dart's success, would that extend Daboll's time here? Would it not? But here we are. I feel like this was very predictable. We said this last year that if the Giants ran into this, the Giants were probably going to run into this problem where they were going to start off slow and they probably have to make a change at head coach and should make a change at GM, which we'll get to here in a little bit once we talk about Daboll first. but he's out. 2-8 record to open up the season. Fire him the Monday after another disgraceful collapse in a game where Jackson Dart got hurt. A game where we've all talked about Jackson Dart and the way he's played. He plays a little reckless, and a lot of people want to say, "Oh, well, Josh Allen and these other quarterbacks play reckless." Yeah. Well, look at the size of Josh Allen compared to Jackson Dart. Dart throwing his body around is totally different than Josh Allen, who's 6'5", throwing his body around. Totally different there. But for Daboll, it's a poor tenure overall, right? You go back and you look at the first season, he goes 9-7-1. They make the playoffs, coach of the year, they win a playoff game. And he followed that up with a 6-11 season, a 3-14 season, mind you, in a year where they were celebrating their 100th season. So they embarrassed themselves in that aspect. And then they started this year 2-8. And the last 3 years, they've been terrible. They've been out of contention this early. Last year they were 2-8. The year before that, I believe they started 2-7, 2-8 around there as well. So they've been non-competitive. He ends his tenure 10-40-1. That's a .336 winning percentage in 61 games. So your thoughts on Daboll getting fired and just the instant reaction from that?
I kind of feel bad for the guy. Like you kind of have to. Ever since he took over the job as head coach, what have they had on the roster? You had Daniel Jones and Saquon that led you to the playoffs one year. Saquon leaves. You have Daniel Jones here, gets a ridiculous contract that he wasn't worth at the moment. That doesn't work out. And it's just been like a revolving door, but it's not a revolving door because all the talent is just leaving. Like there's no talent coming in. And that's kind of the issue. I mean, you look at this roster, and we talked about this last week. We talked about it in the offseason. I don't think there's any coach right now you can put inside that building, and they will find a way for that team to be successful. Mike Tomlin, Andy Reid, like it doesn't matter. There will be no success with that team whatsoever because they don't have talent. And I mean, it sucks for Daboll too with how things got towards the end here. I mean, your quarterback now goes down, but you did have him for a few weeks, but you lose your best receiver, you lose your running back. What can he do? There's nothing that he can do. But I mean, this is about a league of results regardless. So, at the end of the day, they're going to make a move for the organization that they feel is the right thing. But I mean, we've talked about this before, and I mean, you said it more than I have, but this roster is awful. What division will the New York Giants play in right now? Will they be competitive in the division? They are currently sitting in a division right now where two teams last year, same division, was a game away from the Super Bowl. And you have a very good Dallas team that will eventually figure it out, but it's one of the best offenses in football. You don't have the firepower on neither side of the ball to keep up with the Philly, with the Dallas. Washington's hurt right now, so maybe then, but a fully healthy Washington team, the Giants don't have the weapons, the firepower, the coaching, anything to keep up with those units. So, I mean, I said this before. I think you said this before. They set him up for failure, and that's exactly what happened, failure.
Yeah, I've always said that and I agree in terms of I always thought the bigger issue is Joe Shane, which we'll really now dive into that here in a second as well. As at the moment he retains his job, and at the moment he seems to be spearheading this coaching search, which is so dumb on so many levels and something that isn't going to work. And historically, the Giants have done this now. The last two GMs with Jerry Reese, they let him, after Coughlin, hire Ben McAdoo, which was a failure. Instead of just Coughlin and Jerry Reese being a package deal, moving on from them both, they kept Reese, got rid of Coughlin, hired McAdoo, and then they fired Reese anyway because McAdoo was terrible. They did the same with Dave Gettleman. He hired Pat Shurmur, and then they let him fire Pat Shurmur and hire Joe Judge, and that was a disaster. So they need to be a package deal, which we'll get to that here more in a second. But yeah, the whole thing with Daboll is, and you do get some of the reports where I always said that like I said, repeating myself now, but I never thought he was the bigger issue. I always think it fell more on Joe Shane's plate. Reasons we mentioned a ton, the roster. I mean, ever since we started doing the show in 2020, during the 2023 season, every time we talked about the Giants, all we talked about was the lack of playmakers. And I don't want to hear, oh, well, now they got Cam Scatterbo. Now they got not Wan'Dale Robinson. Now they got Malik Neighbors. Great. But the depth behind those guys is awful. They don't have a legitimate number 2. They don't have a legitimate number 3. Darius Slayton, who they brought back, has been terrible. He looks like he's aged 5 years. He's awful. They've got Gunnar Olszewski playing outside receiver, which, seriously, you're the New York Giants and Gunnar Olszewski's playing a big role on your team. The depth is so bad, they only have 2 active running backs right now. And those are all Joe Schoen decisions. Those are all Joe Schoen problems, is the roster management. And this has become a national laughingstock issue. They haven't got the kicker situation right. The kicker's still a problem. And I know some of that falls on Daboll's plate because Daboll, Schoen, the staff, every staff, right? You go through the inactives, you go through who's healthy, who's not. You figure out which players to call up on game day, all that stuff. But ultimately, finding the kicker, they should have replaced Graham Gano instead of bringing him back. That falls on Joe Schoen's plate. So, look, Joe, I'm not saying Brian Daboll is the perfect coach. I still think he was less of the reason for this collapse than Joe Schoen. I will say this about Brian Daboll, though, is you did hear a lot about some of the relationships that he had inside the building. He was kind of toxic. It was always pointing the finger. He never really took the blame. He always was kind of blaming it on everybody else in terms of the guys in his staff, to the point where he actually threatened, according to a report from Jordan Renan, who covers them for ESPN, in the Eagles game on the road, he threatened to take Mike Kafka's play calling away after a Theo Johnson drop on 3rd down. You had the whole Wink Martindale situation 2 years ago. So there was some of that, but I'm sorry. The whole Saquon saga, the whole Daniel Jones extension, that stuff falls on Joe Schoen. And let's be honest, they don't have Jackson Dart without Brian Daboll. And that's their only saving grace right now, if we're being honest, is Jackson Dart. Could you imagine if this team didn't have Jackson Dart, or let's say had like Dylan Gabriel or somebody like that they – not saying they would have traded back into the first round for Dylan Gabriel, but Jackson Dart was kind of that coin flip type of quarterback where, okay, you trade into the late first round, but you feel like he's gonna need some time. But you give credit for Shane, but and you could probably comment on this too. That was all Daboll, was Dart. They don't have Dart without Daboll.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to repeat what you said, but you said it perfectly. I mean, this roster was built by one person. This roster was torn down by one person. Daboll added his little piece into it, and it worked out. It brought life to Giants football. No matter how bad they might look on a week-to-week basis, you want to see what Jackson Dart is going to do. Like, there is promise, and you believe that you truly found your franchise quarterback. But now here's my thing, and maybe I could be wrong, but just even during the offseason, like when we're recording the show during the offseason and we're talking about different free agents and we're talking about different, type of guys that could be moved around the trade deadline as far as trades, the Giants never come up. So it's like, is there any effort to build your roster? Like, it kind of seems like we're going to bank on going after the draft, see what we could draft up. And there's nothing wrong with the homegrown talent and trying to want to build what you draft up. But the league is different now. Like, you need to make moves in free agency. You need to trade pieces. You need to trade for pieces. And they have not done that offensively, at least. Defensively, they've tried. The defense is not even the issue. But offensively, I mean, like you said, on what team is Wan'Dale Robinson? What Super Bowl team, what playoff team is Wan'Dale Robinson your wide receiver to? On what playoff team is Devin Singletary and Tyrone Tracy your running back 1 and 2? Those are, 2 and 3, 3 and 4, third down back type of guys. And no disrespect to them. Obviously, they're in the NFL for a reason. But those are not the type of players that will elevate your team. Those are not the type of players that your quarterback, your young rookie quarterback, can elevate. He's not there yet. So, I mean, the way that they have completely destroyed this roster after the playoff run is ridiculous, because you should have built off of that, kept Saquon. Guys are seeing, hey, the Giants are winning. Let's go to New York. Let's do something special. But now, if I'm a free agent and the Giants call me, I'm hanging up the phone. Why do I want to go to New York? Why would I want to go to New York and play football? And a lot of that, like you just said, it has to do with the front office.
Yeah, and I think that's an excellent point that you make there about making the playoffs and not building on it. That's the worst part. And as we kind of now transition to the whole Joe Shane conversation, is they made the playoffs with Dave Gettleman's roster. That was not their roster, right? They take over. You can't transform a roster in one offseason. So they made the playoffs with Dave Gettleman's roster, won 9 games. You want to say, oh, the schedule was easy that year. You want to say, Brian Daboll and had no pressure on him and he was coaching to win games as opposed to not to lose, right? That was the whole when Daboll was very aggressive that season. Over the last 3 years after the playoff run, he's been a lot less aggressive. I don't buy that. It's just they made the playoffs with Dave Gettleman's roster, and now with the chance to build on that roster, retain certain guys on that roster, they've gotten progressively worse. Look, there's talent. Like Jackson Dart looks like the real deal. You have Cam Scatterbo and Malik Neighbors. You have Andrew Thomas. You have Brian Burns. There is some pieces there, but there's a lot of holes and a lot of depth issues. And I also don't want to hear either, oh, well, Joe Shane hit on Malik Neighbors. Great. You should hit on the 6th overall pick. When you have a top 10 draft pick, you don't have to be a great GM to pick a good player inside the top 10 or inside the top 5. What's more important is your draft picks in the 2nd round, in the 3rd round, in the late parts of the 1st round, on day 3, finding those gems. I always say that that's what separates the great GMs and even just the good GMs, not even the bad GMs. That's what separates the elite GMs and the good GMs is, okay, everybody could find talent in the 1st round. But what about day 2? What about round 2? What about round 3? Can you find that round 4, round 5 hidden gem where you develop them, coach them up, and they turn into a starter for you and a long-term piece? The Rams, they are kind of like the prime example of that, of finding just some late gems, right? The Giants, they don't do that, right? Les Snead does a great job of that. I think this was a really interesting note, and I've just been kind of reading through some stuff this past week. And the one season that the Giants didn't have a top 3 pick, or a top 10 pick rather, was 2023, where they were coming off the playoff berth. And you look at that season, this is a direct criticism of Joe Shane. The one year they did not have a top 10 pick in the draft, that draft class in 2023 is a complete nothing. Deonte Banks was your 1st round pick. He's awful. He's terrible. He's one of the worst cornerbacks in the NFL. John Michael Schmitz is terrible. He's gotten worse. Jalen Hyatt is not an NFL wide receiver. Eric Gray is right now he's not even playing, but at best he's your 4th running back when everybody's healthy. Trey Hawkins isn't on the roster anymore, and Jordan Riley and Javarius Owens, to be honest, never even heard of the guys.
I've heard of 2 people from that draft class. That's Deonte Banks and that's Jalen Hyatt.
Yeah, and they're terrible.
Just briefly even want to talk about Jalen Hyatt. And it just kind of goes to show you from a development piece. I mean, obviously this guy wasn't a college great, but he won Bolendikov. I think he did win that. I think he won that. Like, he had a successful college career. So again, not a 1st round grade, obviously a lot of issues with his route running coming out of college. That was the thing. I mean, if you watch college football, you watch Tennessee, you knew Jalen Hyatt was just a flyer, and basically draft stock completely rose off of a 5-touchdown game against Alabama. The whole point here is, if you bring over a guy, you draft a guy where you draft him who had success in college. The fact that you can't get anything out of him when he gets to the league, that also has to do with development, which is, as you were saying, ties into what you're saying. If you're, rounds 3, 4, 5 guys, you can't find anything, you can't jail them into anything. That's the development part. Like, that is a big part of it. That's the big part of the Giants. I mean, it's almost like they banked off of that playoff run with Daniel Jones and Saquon and thought, these 2 are enough. These 2 are enough to get us over the top, to not even keep neither one of them.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're not going to develop guys, if you're not going to find those gems, so you said it perfectly. In round one, yeah, I mean, if you honestly find a wide receiver from LSU and they fail, that's a you problem. You cannot ever go wrong with an LSU wide receiver. So the fact that you hit on Malik Neighbors, congratulations. He didn't do nothing special. It's Malik Neighbors. But the fact that anything in the later rounds, just I guess if you want to exclude Cam Scatterbo out of this, who was an absolute dog in college, and we all know that. Outside of Scatterbo, your late round picks have become a bunch of nothing special team guys, probably not in the league no more. So, I mean, as much as they want to blame Daboll for the issues, the GM sucks, the development sucks, and this team will forever suck until they put all the pieces together.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not even like he's hit on all these first-round picks because Tay Banks has been terrible. You go back to his first draft class, Kayvon Thibodeau is not a 5th overall pick. He's not played like that. Has he been awful? Has he been a bust? No, but he has not lived up to the number 5 overall pick, Billy. Evan Neal is arguably one of the biggest busts, the worst draft pick in Giants franchise history. And though that was also made in 2022. And that was their first draft class. That was their first opportunity to make an impact, build this foundation. They couldn't do it. They did find Wan'Dale Robinson. Wan'Dale Robinson has played well this year, but he can't be your Malik Neighbors fallback.
Yeah.
As we mentioned. It's overall, it's very poor. And I think this is very telling too. Now, mind you, Dexter Lawrence has had a pretty poor season for his standards.
Yeah.
But you look at this team and you look at the Giants and you say, okay, who are the 4 best players or 4 best players, let's say, not including the quarterback, like 4 best skill position defensive players. You'd probably go, okay, Malik Neighbors, Andrew Thomas, or even just most impactful, however you want to do it, because the difference from Andrew Thomas on the field and off the field is crazy.
Yeah.
Andrew Thomas, Neighbors, Scatterbo, at his best, Dexter Lawrence, and let's say Brian Burns.
That's it.
Now, okay, you give credit to Joe Shane. He orchestrated the Brian Burns trade. Malik Neighbors, Cam Scatterbo, you give him more credit for Scatterbo because that's a 4th round pick. Malik Neighbors, I think you and I could have made that pick. And Dexter Lawrence and Andrew Thomas were Gettleman picks. I think that's pretty telling. And if you want to throw Jackson Dart for the exercise, well, that was Daboll.
It's just you're naming off names that are obviously very impactful. But as I'm sitting back, I mean, just thinking about it, kind of going back to what I said earlier about just competing in division. I mean, are you putting Jackson Dart and Malik Neighbors up against Hurts, Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, Dak Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, McLaurin, Jaden Daniels, and Deebo Samuel? Like, you can't. It almost seems similar to the Daniel Jones and Saquon thing. You can't bank off of 2 guys and expect success. It's not going to happen. Yeah,
and I don't want to jump the gun, but how many discussions were there of Abdul Carter being the next Myles Garrett? Can we say that Abdul Carter has been disappointing? I know the pressures are there, but you want to be an elite edge rusher, elite pass rusher, the sacks have got to be there too. He's got a half a sack.
And it's funny you said that. I seen a tweet this morning when I woke up from a Philly fan trolling, of course, and it was like, this is the same guy that basically asked to unretire Lawrence Taylor's number. That's disrespectful. Yeah. And I've seen the stats, and I said, where has he been? Has he played? Like, he has not been impactful, which is surprising because you look at how good that defense is name-wise, not productivity-wise, because obviously defensively they have not been where we thought they would be. But you look at the names on the sheet, that's a very good defense. The front 7 at least, like top 10 front 7 when it comes to names. But it's kind of odd that he's not having success with a Dexter Lawrence, a Thibodeau, a Brian Burns, with all those type of guys who are so good at what they do. That's an issue.
Yeah, 100%. I'm right there with you. It's and the defense is awful. It's awful. Giants are in a rough spot. The one thing the Giants have for them is a rookie quarterback, and you'll see what Mike Kafka can do. We'll see what happens with Joe Shane. There's kind of mixed reporting. Some feel that he's only here for the coaching search, and then they'll fire him. They're making a big mistake if they hang on to Joe Shane. We all know how this is going to end. It's going to be he'll be fired in 2 years with that coach that he hired. By the way, Joe Shane hired Brian Daboll. So if you don't think Brian Daboll's any good, why are you going to keep the guy that hired him?
Exactly.
It's just common sense that the organization lacks right now, and frankly has lacked since the Eli and Coughlin days, which is well behind us by now. They've been in the basement with some of the horrendous organizations, the Browns, the Jets. They are right there in that mix, and they're so far from where they once were as a proud organization. They've now gotten to the basement of the NFL. And is there really any way out? Who knows? Anyway, we move on now to the team that they're playing this weekend. You get a little Jameis Winston. Is it crazy to say that Jameis Winston walks out of this game with better numbers than Jordan Love? Because Jordan Love's been awful. And I'll be honest, look, this is all reporting, but after the loss to, and everybody deserves blame for Monday night. Eagles deserve blame. Packers deserve blame. The NFL fans do not deserve what we saw on Monday Night Football. That was just rip your eyeballs out type of football. Nobody deserves that. Maybe Eagles fans, you want to say Eagles fans deserve to watch that? Maybe I know they still have to win, but deserve to watch that type of offense. Monday night was terrible. It was like watching paint dry. I think that was the worst game of the year, to be honest. And that's saying something because a couple nights prior, we got Bo Nix overthrowing guys against the Raiders, and the Raiders aren't any good. So it's been a rough couple of days. Jets and Patriots save us. That's how bad we are. That's the spot we're in right now with primetime football, that we're relying on the Jets to save us. It's not a good spot.
What I can be thankful for, at least, I am a first-time Stranger Things watcher, and with this new season coming out in a few days, it has given me between the Broncos and Raiders on Thursday, the Philly game on Monday, and then I believe was that the week prior, the Seahawks Commanders game. It has given me a lot of time to binge Stranger Things. So I have turned each one of those games off at halftime because, like you said, it's paint drying. Like it is so boring. I don't know what I'm watching.
I'll tell you. Oh, not to cut you off, but I'll tell you what. And we always do this at the end of the year. We'll probably go back and list our 5 best games of the season, kind of when we do our season recap.
Mm-hmm.
Like there hasn't been many like all-time games this year. Not even all-time games. There hasn't been many great games this year. There's been a lot of weekends where, look, anytime you're watching a football game, team down 2 scores, you're always thinking, okay, maybe they could score here, make it close.
Mm-hmm.
And you're always kind of hoping and anticipating, and that kind of keeps you engaged. But you look at some of these scores week in and week out, like there hasn't been there's in previous years, it just so happens this year where there's just been some bad weekends of football where the games just aren't close.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had some moments. I mean, Davis Mills last week, but I recall going back to week 8, the Jets and the Bengals was the only good game on that entire week because the Thursday night game was terrible. That was when the Chargers blew out the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
And the Monday night game was terrible because it was Marcus Mariota going into Kansas City.
And then your 4 o'clock was Dallas getting thrashed by Denver.
Yes, by Denver.
Yep.
It was the Bucks and the Saints, which was a blowout.
Yep.
The Buffalo smoked Carolina that weekend. Like that weekend was awful. Yep. There's been a couple weekends like that where maybe other than 1 or 2 games, there's just been some bad, and just some low-scoring, ugly games. So see what happens this weekend. But maybe we do get some points in this one between the Giants and the Packers. We'll probably get a lot of turnovers because it's Jameis Winston, and he's always good for about 3 to 4 interceptions, but 380 yards and 4 touchdowns on top of it. So always a good experience there. But we get the report coming out of the game from Matt Schneidman, who covers the Packers for The Athletic, after the loss on Monday night, that Matt LaFleur could be coaching for his job the rest of the way here with the Green Bay Packers. This is a Packers team that 5-3-1 on the season. And as things currently sit, right, they make the Micah Parsons trade. Here come the Packers Super Bowl favorites. They're the 7th seed in the NFC. Far from a shoo-in for the playoffs right now. And if the Lions, with Dan Campbell now calling plays, continue to play like they're playing, and the Packers continue to play like they're playing, you can completely kiss the NFC North goodbye. And all of a sudden, you've got to look out for teams like the Bears to potentially surpass them. They still got to play them twice. Packers are in a poor spot. All that being said, though, I'm sorry. There is no chance you could fire Matt LaFleur. To me, this is a Jordan Love issue, not a Matt LaFleur issue. What are your thoughts? I get the report. I get the angle of the whole LaFleur hot seat a bit because the defense has been so good and they're wasting it. And he ultimately is the offensive mind. He's got to elevate Love, but there's also got to fall on the plate. The amount of money Love's making, he's just not good. He's just not good. He's average.
There's two teams, if Matt LaFleur was to get fired, that I believe would probably give up everything that they could, and that's the Jets and that's the Giants.
Yes.
If Green Bay is dumb enough to get rid of Matt LaFleur, I mean, then so be it, and they get what they deserve. I mean, right now, this just sets me up for Jordan Love hate watch, which has already been the case anyways. I've never thought he was that good. And we've talked about this before, and this is kind of, the tricky part. It's always the silver lining when it comes to how you evaluate games, because you can watch a game and you're just like, okay, the offense is so awful, but is it the offensive coordinator? Is it the scheme? Is it the play calling? Or is it the players? Matt LaFleur didn't just forget how to coach football all of a sudden. Like, he has done great things with the team that he has coached. Jordan Love is just not good. He's not that good. And I said this last week. I'm going to say it again. And I'm sorry if you have heard me say this 8 times for everyone that watches. Jordan Love did not show much promise. In my opinion, he got paid off of beating the Dallas Cowboys in the playoffs. That is where all that money came in. That entire contract was beating the Dallas Cowboys in the playoffs. So now, back then, there's not much expectation. There's not much pressure for Jordan Love. In a sense, because yes, you are still stepping in for Rodgers. This is an organization that is used to winning, that wants to win. But then again, it's kind of like, hey, we're going to kind of ease you into it. We know you're taking over for Rodgers. We just need you to be competitive. All of a sudden, you go win that Dallas game, and people are talking about you being Super Bowl favorites and how well you can be in early MVP, and you have not lived up to it. And people can sit here and say, well, they don't have weapons. Yes, they do. And we said this last week. They choose to go wide receiver by committee. That is a them opportunity. There were so many guys just throughout the years where you can sign, where you can call draft time. You choose not to. You have Josh Jacobs. You're able to flip him from the Raiders. You have the best tight end in football. You have weapons. Your quarterback cannot get them the ball. The defense is doing its job. I mean, I think the thing is we've looked at Green Bay and we're expecting this team and this defense to hold people to under 13 points every game. It's not realistic, but they've kind of done it. The defense has played phenomenal. The offense stinks. And this is an offense.
Oh, sorry. You go ahead. You cut out on my end. I thought you were done talking.
Oh, I'm almost just wrapping it up. I said that the offense just don't have the defense's back. This team is not going to win anything with continuously putting the defense on the field and hoping that they can come up big every week.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago when we were discussing the Packers. That's always been the big conversation with them, is wide receiver by committee. That's just kind of the approach they take. And with Rodgers, that was always the storyline. He never had a wide receiver drafted in the first round. Now, he did have Devontae Adams, who turned into an elite wide receiver number 1, but let's not, especially, after the once Randall Cobb got out of his prime, because he then ended up coming back to play with Rodgers, 2022, and then he came to the Jets, which was just fantastic. Randall Cobb, once he left his prime, and he actually, I think, spent some time with the Cowboys, right? And then the Texans as well. So Jordy Nelson, I know they've had some pieces over the years, but for the most part, towards the end there, where Rodgers was winning back-to-back MVPs, it was Devontae Adams and nobody else, and he was able to elevate them. I'm just nothing against Jordan Love. He can't control the hype around him. He can't control the Rodgers comparisons. He's just not good. He's just not. Everybody thought that he was going to step in right after 2023 and be Rodgers and be a perennial 30-plus touchdowns per year type of guy every single season, over 4,000 yards every single season, deep playoff runs every single year. He's just not that quarterback. And you watch him play, he's not that. And you also just look at the numbers. He's gotten worse every single season. That's the opposite of what you want to see. And I really do think I think there might be part of him struggling with the pressure because there is now a lot of pressure. It's like, okay, you have a great defense. You trade for Micah Parsons. Trading for Micah Parsons is the final move a team is the move that a team makes when they feel they're one player away from winning the Super Bowl, is making a move for Micah Parsons. They do that. Maybe he's feeling the pressure a bit, but like you go back to 2023, and that was his first season, first actual extended starting experience. 2021, 2022 sat behind Rodgers. He did have that one start, I think, was it Kansas City, I think, in 2021, when the Chiefs basically, or his parents were basically sitting in the sky when they put him all the way up in the last row of the upper deck.
I do remember that.
But outside of that, like, there is this real thing with quarterbacks where one year, your rookie season, great, but now teams have a whole year of film on you. Now teams know what your tendencies are. Now teams are able to catch up to you. And I think that's kind of started to happen with the Packers and started to happen with Jordan Love. 2023 was the first year post-Rodgers. There wasn't much expectations going into that season. Remember, they started that year terribly. They were awful to start that season. Just going back right now, they were 2-5, 3-6 before they started to go on the run. And they had some bad losses to open up that season. And then they went on the run. And they just sneak in at 9-8. They obviously beat Dallas. They almost beat San Fran. And since that point, they've only gotten worse, and Love's only gotten worse. I'm sorry, but Matt LaFleur, you talk about the Giants. The Jets won't do it. They're gonna hang on to Glenn. Obviously, and I also will say this with the Jets, the history between the Jets and the LaFleurs, I think, is permanently broken because they forced Robert Saleh to fire Mike LaFleur, his brother, in order for them to get Hackett to reel in Rodgers. So the LaFleurs and the Jets, and then Saleh having that tight relationship with the LaFleurs. I think he was the best man at Matt LaFleur's wedding. It all kind of ties in with that Shanahan tree. And then to then fire Saleh halfway through, I don't know if you'll ever get another LaFleur walking the walls of Florham Park. But certainly the Giants with a Jackson Dart, you take that in a heartbeat, and so many other teams.
Yeah.
When you look around, if the Browns move on from Stefanski, you look at, LaFleur will be right in the mix. The Titans are an appealing option with Cam Ward. I'm sorry. I'm not going to sit here and bash Matt LaFleur. I'm just not going to do it.
No, not at all.
This is typical. And I've seen some Packers fans starting to bat. He's been with the team for, this is his 7th season. His first 6 years, he made the playoffs in 5 of those 6. And I do think he does also deserve credit for the 2 MVP season with Rodgers. Like, he does deserve some credit for that too. That's why him and Rodgers butted heads, because Rodgers wanted to run his scheme and LaFleur kind of wanted to run a newer version of the offense. But that type of offense kind of fit him. It just, Love's not good. Like, can we just be honest? He's not good. Take the contract out of the window. Take the whole Packers history of going from Favre to Rodgers to Love. Take the 2023 season. He's not good. You watch him play, he's not good. You look at the numbers, he's not that good. He's letting this team down. there's a lot of teams that are begging right now for Matt LaFleur to be fired. A lot of teams that should be, because he's better than most coaches in the NFL. So, yeah, long term, you stick with LaFleur over Love.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. And again, I hate to play the if game, but I'm playing the if game. You throw Lamar, you throw Herbert, you throw Mahomes. Heck, you throw Prescott in this offense. This isn't. We're talking about a top 5 offense. Jordan Love just can't get the job done. It's that simple. I mean, still a lot of football left to be played in a sense. But if you would have told me after this Micah Parsons trade that this team would be sitting at 5-3-1 with losses to Cleveland and Carolina when they couldn't even put up 20 points, I would have thought you were insane. And again, it's not the defense. I mean, the defense has held their own. The defense is ball. Like, they've been excellent. But it's this old saying that my dad likes to say to me, and he says it all the time. He's been saying it since I was playing ball as a kid. Like, if you continue to put your defense out on the field, no matter how good they are going to get tired, and eventually they are going to break. It's going to be a lot of bend, don't break. Eventually they're going to break. The offense has to maintain. I mean, even if you're not always putting points on the board, just those, 5, 6, 7-minute drives and being able to pin opponents in their own territory goes a long way. The offense is not setting them up for success. And I would love to see them miss the playoffs. And hot take, if Dallas finds out a way to kind of get it going, San Fran kind of gets healthy, Green Bay's going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah. No, they're right in the mix, certainly. I mean, they still have to play the Lions. They still got 2 against Chicago. They've still got 2 against Minnesota. So you could also look at it from the other angle and say, okay, they still have a ton of divisional games coming up. Already beat the Lions this time, though, on the road Thanksgiving. And they get the Giants this weekend. You should win that game. The new coach bump is a real thing, but you should win that game. With that defense, you're probably going to force Jameis into a couple turnovers. Not that you have to be very good to do that, but yeah, I mean, the Vikings, with the way, they play now, JJ McCarthy back. After this Giants game, you close out the season with Vikings, Lions, Bears, on the road in Denver against the Broncos in that defense, Chicago, Baltimore, Minnesota. That's no easy stretch by any means, especially, and people got to start putting some more respect on Baltimore. They're winning let's be honest, they're winning the AFC North.
Yeah.
So they're back, in my opinion. Maybe it's just me trying to talk myself into the Super Bowl pick, but yeah, no, I don't think Green Bay is in a good spot at all. And I'll be honest, I can't say we're too surprised we saw this coming, because we've been kind of on it with Jordan Love.
Yeah.
So anyway, moving on to another quarterback. Joe Burrow, 21-day practice window opened up to come off IR here in the next couple of weeks. Bengals talk about, playoffs and the chances there. Still in the mix, even though they're 3-6 and losers now of, I think it's been, 6 of their last 7, and 2 in a row. They lose by 5 against Chicago, 47-42, in that late collapse by the defense, and then they lose by 1 against the Jets. You did have the Unk Bowl, where Flacco went out there and won Thursday night. That was the last entertaining Thursday night game we got.
Yeah,
put the old guys
absolutely
back on the TV. We get the Unk Bowl 2.0 on Sunday. Big game against the Steelers here. Joe Burrow coming back. What are your thoughts? Personally, look, it's big, obviously, but I still have issues with their defense. It's Joe Flacco's playing, honestly, out of his mind. 3 touchdowns against the Steelers, or he threw 2 touchdowns against the Packers, 3 touchdowns against the Steelers, 2 against the Jets, and then 4 against Chicago. He's had 11 touchdowns in 4 games with the Bengals. The defense is terrible. Burrow is obviously better than Flacco, and he provides a boost, but You think it's enough if they could stay in the race? Now, they got to start winning games, though, because if they lose this week, they got a tough schedule, too, coming up. Pittsburgh, Patriots, Baltimore, Buffalo, Baltimore. So it's tough. They got to this kind of feels like a must win because the difference in 4 and 6 with 2 wins over the Steelers. So you have the tiebreaker there completely. And 3 and 8 or 3 and 7 rather with the Ravens playing better is a big difference.
And that's why I wanted to bring this topic up. Because when I saw the news break, great, you get Joe Burrow back. Joe Burrow's returning. Do you play him? I'm looking at the schedule. Do you even play him? If they're sitting at 3 and 6 right now, they drop, their next 2. We're talking about 3 and 8. And I think that's when they head into Thanksgiving against Baltimore. Do you play Joe Burrow? Is it worth Joe Burrow coming back and risking injury? But, that's something I guess we'll figure out as the weeks go through. If they can find a way to win at least one of these 2 and split. But I think they can. I want to say I feel like they can make a push, but what difference is the defense going to be with Burrow and then with Flacco? Because like you said, Flacco has actually played he has played amazing. This hot take here, Flacco has played better the small stint now than he probably looked that Super Bowl year with Baltimore when he was carried by the defense. And I know that's probably crazy to say, but he just looks great when he's out there. He's getting the ball to the guys he needs to. The run game has come alive. Chase Brown has come alive. The offense is not the problem. The defense is just absolutely just garbage. So, what difference would it make with Burrow there compared to Flacco? But is it crazy to say if they can find a way to split one of these 2, Joe Burrow comes back, the Bengals have an opportunity to make the playoffs if the defense can be mid. They just need to be mid to make the playoffs.
Yeah, the Bengals are that typical team or that main team that everybody always takes one of the best defenses in the NFL, and it's oh, if you just put them on the Bengals, they'll be not even 6 and 3. They'd probably be 7 and 2 right now.
Yeah.
Because they beat the Jets, they beat the Bears with that defense. So that's 2 more wins. They might beat the Lions potentially in that game because they let up 37. So now Browning did throw 3 interceptions. But still letting up 37 is a lot of points. And a good defense, an elite defense could probably win you that game. So they probably have 3 wins, let's say. 3 more wins than they do now. So they'd probably be 6 and 3 with a really good defense. Maybe even more. Who knows? Because you never know with turnovers. You truly never know. I mean, a great defense probably shuts down Bo Nix that night. So you're not in a position where you're making Bo Nix look very good. They're a lot better. Just an average defense, they're better. I mean, an average defense, they're 5 and 4 right now with wins 5 and 4 with wins these last 2 games. Yeah, if they beat the Steelers and get to 4 and 6, and then let's say they lose, if they beat Pittsburgh and let's say lose to New England, do you set up the return for Burrow Thursday night against Baltimore? Because that would be essentially almost the 21-day window would be up. You'd have to make your decision. Or if they win this week and Burrow is ready to go, do you say, hey, we're 4 and 6. We got to put all of our chips in the center. We can't afford to continue to lose games. Because once you get to the 7th loss, you kind of have to run the table. It's probably going to take 10 wins. Maybe it'll take 9. You'd never really know. I think the Jaguars will fall off. I mean, the AFC back into the playoff picture is pretty weak. Although I do still think the Chiefs probably find a way to squeak out 5 more wins, right? There's no way the Chiefs end with under 10 wins. But, they got Tennessee on their schedule. They got the Raiders. So those are 2 wins. So that's 7. They have Denver twice. Personally, I think they'll probably sweep Denver. Is it crazy to
Okay.
say that the Chiefs, like Denver, could miss the playoffs? That's crazy.
It's,
But the Chiefs winning the AFC West is not crazy.
yeah, I mean, Chiefs are sitting there with 5-4 right now.
Denver's 8 and
Dem-
2. So if they
Denver's
win both,
8.
if the Chiefs win both these games, then they'll be 7. Well, with the bye week and stuff, they'll have the tiebreaker over Denver. Denver would then be at 4 losses just off those two, when whatever else happens. Yeah, it'll be interesting. That's probably a crazy take, but
I don't think it's that crazy. What
they're
what
dreadful.
has Denver shown as just like, okay, this team has a division lock? Like they are in the same boat as
Yeah,
Green Bay. If you ask me, a very good defense. The
yeah.
offense is very lackluster. It's underwhelming. So I
The
mean,
the issue
not
with
crazy.
Denver or that happening is their schedule. They got Washington and Vegas. So you're beating the Raiders. Maybe. I mean, they barely beat them.
Yeah,
Who knows?
yeah,
Their
they are.
offense, their offense is so bad they could fall off. But with them already being at 8 wins, they'd really have to fall apart. But the division's still there for the taking, as much as it might not look like it. And the Chargers are still right in the mix. They're more in the mix than the Chiefs are. So, yeah, the AFC playoffs interesting, just in general. But anyway, on that note, Steelers missing the playoff quickly, and then we'll get into underdogs. That's one final question.
I don't like
They,
Pittsburgh. I don't like
they,
Pittsburgh.
yeah,
They're not good. They're not good. They're not good. If
there's
Pittsburgh misses the playoffs, is Mike Tomlin gone? Or is he on the hot seat going into next year?
imagine a coaching carousel with Mike Tomlin and Matt LaFleur on
And
it.
Matt
Jeez.
LaFleur. That would be
You might see some surprising firings
yeah,
just
that
to
you
get
would
those
not
two
have
guys.
expected. Absolutely.
Yeah, there might be some firings that are made
Yeah.
that are kind of a surprise just to lure those guys in
Yeah.
um, across the league. So that would actually make for a very intriguing coaching search period.
Yeah.
Um, it's crazy to think that you're probably only getting one AFC North team unless if the Bengals can make a run. That would be a really bad look for Pittsburgh if the Bengals get in and they don't. But Pittsburgh's there. Here we are again with Pittsburgh, right? But you can't count them out. They're the 10-7 losing the wild card round. That's their specialty.
I mean, this is an every year thing for them. They're gonna find a way. They'll probably find a way to sneak in just because the rest of the
Yeah,
AFC is weak. I mean, the Bengals making a run is a long shot. I mean, it's a
yeah,
complete long
it's gonna
shot.
be tough. Their defense is so
Yeah.
atrocious.
Like we're not saying it's going to happen. We're just saying with Burrow back, if they split, it's a possibility. You can't ever rule it out. But Pittsburgh probably sneaks in because the rest of the AFC is awful. And I know we've been through it earlier. We'll probably go through it later on. But if we say 3 in the West, 1 in the South, 1 in the East, Pittsburgh.
Well, it would probably be 2. I mean, in the Bills are no shoe-in either, but
Two in the East, yeah.
the problem
But
with
maybe.
the back end of the AFC is just so bad. Like the 7th seed right now is occupied by the Jaguars. That's
That says a
I don't know how
lot.
I feel about that.
You know, you never want you playoffs. You got to show up in the playoffs. You have to play. But whoever that
Yeah.
2 seed is that gets Jacksonville,
It would be Denver right now. That would be their dream. Denver you watch, Denver's gonna have a cakewalk to they're gonna be the most fraudulent AFC title team ever. They're gonna play
this
like
is bad.
they're gonna play let's say they would be probably tough. They'll find a way to have to play like Pittsburgh and Jacksonville or something.
Yeah.
And then they'll be in the AFC title game. That'll be the most fraudulent AFC title team ever. But yeah, who knows?
I want now before we move on. I want Denver to drop. And I know it's crazy because this is a team we were both rooting for
Yeah.
in the offseason, but I just want the fraud alert to finally be shown that this team is not that good. And they can turn it around. Again, it's the offense that needs to show up. But if you ask me, if it's anyone but Pittsburgh and Jacksonville, this team loses in the wild card at home.
Mm-hmm. Now I will say this: the Bills are no shoe in either right now at 6-3, but that's the whole thing, and that's what we're kind of going along. It's not like there's this big threat behind them, because let's say even the Chiefs get in. You assume the Ravens would just take over the Steelers in the North. So they're not going to occupy one of those wild card, those 5 through 7 spots that aren't the division winners. They'll be playing on wild card weekend, but obviously it'd be very strange this year with the Bills. Most likely they're going to be on the road in the postseason, which is throughout the postseason, let me mind you, because obviously they were on the road last year in Kansas City. They did host Kansas City the year prior, but they've always been at home in the postseason at some point, whether it's wild card or divisional round, whatever. They've been at home for a lot because they've been winning the division. But now they're in a position where they might have to go on the road for every round, bearing the 7 seed, getting to the title game and then playing the 7 seed if this stays the way it is as them being the 6 seed.
I honestly think if the Patriots win tonight, which they should, Patriots win tonight, everyone stays healthy, they win one more week. Yeah, AFC East is wrapped up. I don't see a way Buffalo makes any push towards it, even considering right now New England has the one up, considering they beat Buffalo in Buffalo.
Yeah.
I mean, if New England wins tonight, I see there's no way, unless Drake May gets injured, there's no way they lose that division. So I guess congrats to the Pats. But kind of crazy that even before coming to the year, like again, we thought this was maybe a 7, 8, could be 9-win team, and they are basically at that mark in week 11 if they win tonight. So shout out Mike, I can say that.
Yeah, no, Vrabel deserves a ton of credit. All right, anyway, let's dive into underdog picks. So last week was another kind of normal week for us. Nothing too hot. 2-1 for me, 1-2 for you. So I'm right on par with my performance. I have not had one 3-0 week yet this year. I have had a couple 0-3s, of course. The records are still terrible. I'm 14-16. You're 12-18. So we're still well below everything. We are not making the playoffs. I think we can comfortably say that. We are not in the playoff picture. We are tanking for the next quarterback. We're tanking for Mendoza, right?
I say Cade Klubnik on my end, just so that way I can run my organization into the ground. But hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's been a rough go here, but we still got some time to turn it around. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, since I won last week, I guess I could go first. Usually how we run it, so I'll jump up here. Lions, I spoiled my pick, but I'm going to jump right into it. I'm going to take Lions plus 2.5 over the Eagles. Took the Eagles last week. Thank you for your service, Philadelphia, because you got me the right pick last week, but I'm going to go with Detroit this week. Dan Campbell taking over the play calling. That offense looks a lot more like it did these last couple of years after the little bit of a bumpy stretch that they hit in the loss to Kansas City and the ugly loss. Shouldn't say ugly, but the disappointing loss at home against a Vikings team that you should be beating. So very, very big, like quietly last week was a very important win for Detroit, because if they lose that game, they're 5-4. And all of a sudden we talk about playoff shoo-ins. All of a sudden they kind of start to feel a little bit of heat, even though they're would still be in the lead. Well, they would actually be now back in the division because Green Bay would have less losses, but 5-4, 6-3, little different, and back-to-back losses against the Vikings and the Commanders just doesn't sit well for a team that should not have that happen. So a win that should happen, but a good win for the Lions last week, and quietly a much-needed win for them to kind of get back on track and steer things in the right direction after the bad loss coming off the bye week against Minnesota. So I'll take them on Sunday night in Minnesota or in Philadelphia plus 2.5. I'll also go Bears plus 2.5. So I'm sticking in the AFC North or NFC North rather. I don't really know why I'm doing it. And it kind of is similar to last week. I don't really know why I picked the Vikings. I did, and it didn't work. The Bears are 6-3. Somehow, some way, they make a miracle comeback against the Giants. I'm going to take them on the road against Minnesota. A little bit of an upset here. Caleb Williams goes in there and picks up a win. They get to 7-3, and they're probably the least talked about 7-3 team, I feel like. They've kind of just been – it hasn't been really that impressive, and I think we all kind of just don't expect them to do much if they do make the playoffs. I don't know. I feel like the Bears are just kind of meh.
Yeah.
Nobody really views them as this top team. They beat a lot of poor teams. I mean, they beat the Saints, they beat the Commanders, they beat the Raiders, they beat the Giants, they beat the Bengals. Like, they haven't had many quality wins. They, did beat the Cowboys in a game where that was an ugly one for Dallas. But even Dallas right now is 3-5-1.
Yeah.
So they've beaten, all their wins have come against teams under 500 is the point I'm trying to make. And their losses have come 2 in the division and then a loss to Baltimore. So it's been ugly, but I'll take Chicago nonetheless. Don't want to keep going on here rambling. Bucks plus 5.5. This is an interesting one because I do think there's a real chance where Buffalo takes it to them tomorrow night. I'm thinking we're recording this on Saturday. Tomorrow or Sunday afternoon. Jeez, I'm all over the place. Sunday afternoon. But I'm going to take the Bucks coming off a tough loss against an AFC East opponent. The Bucks 6-3 now. Tough loss off the bye. I think they come out in this one. Both teams come out in this one with a little bit of fire, a little bit of we got to get right. We got to pick up a win here, especially for the Bucks, because if you lose this one, all of a sudden then you got to turn around and go to LA to play the Rams on Sunday night next week. You could all of a sudden be staring 6-5 right in the eyes. Now, luckily, you don't have much of a threat in the division. I don't really consider Carolina much of a threat, but still, seeding-wise, they got to start picking up some wins. So I would take the Bucks plus 5.5. Not even necessary to win, but I could see this being a field goal game.
All right, yeah, I like those. I'm right with you there. I got Bucks plus 5.5 as well. Just to piggyback off that a little bit, I mean, I think the way they lost that game last week hurt a lot. And, yeah, they need a win more than anything. So I'm going to go Bucks plus 5.5. I'm not saying that they're going to win, but if they were to win, I'm not surprised. I mean, also, Buffalo's not look good. So this is kind of a get right week for both teams. So give me Bucks plus 5.5. I'm also going to go Lions plus 2.5. I think they went outright. This is just Philly hate watch. Once again, I don't think this Philly team is that good. They keep finding ways to sneak out. I mean, they got luck of the Irish going on in Philadelphia, but not this week. Give me Lions plus 2.5. I think they went outright. Hate watch goes a long way. I'm going to tell you that. And lastly, I am going to go Seattle plus 3.5. First and foremost, I don't even know why this game is at 4 o'clock on Sunday. This needs to be a Monday night. I don't want to watch Geno Smith on Monday. This should definitely be a Monday or Sunday night, but I mean, we are talking about you could argue the 2 best teams in football, like all together, especially the 2 best in the NFC. I'm not counting Philly in that. 2 best teams in football. This is going to be a close one. I think this is going to be a bit of a shootout. Somebody could be expecting low scoring, but no, I like Sammy Dimes to at least go cover 3.5 against the Rams. So give me Seattle plus 3.5.
I was thinking about picking that game as well, but I decided not to. But I do like that pick. That's going to be an awesome game. Wish it was a primetime game. Honestly, like, I would even take that. Yeah, put that game on Monday night over Geno Smith.
Please.
Yeah, you make a good point. That game being on 4 is, and I don't even think they got the Brady crew for that game. Like, I don't even think that's the national game. I believe the Brady crew is, I think the Brady crew is Chicago, Minnesota. I was looking earlier today, which to me doesn't make any sense. I get it, the NFC North showdown, but you got arguably two two of the best teams in the AFC and two Super Bowl hopefuls. Yeah, that's I'll tell you one game I'm not touching or wouldn't touch at all is the Chiefs Broncos.
Yeah, it's I think
Because
4.5. I've seen. I'm not. No.
yeah, even to bet the Chiefs to win that game, I still don't like that. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just Broncos defense is really good. They've had some success recently against Kansas City the last couple of years, actually, where they've actually been able to beat them. Last year I believe they beat them last year once. I think they beat, it was the last week of the season. And they almost beat them until the blocked field goal. And then they also beat them the 1 year with Russ, 2023, when they had that little bit of run going. So, but then there's also part of me that has no faith in Bo Nix to beat them. So yeah, that's an iffy one. But anyway, any closing thoughts?
As usual, thanks for you for watching. Thanks for tuning in on this short week. There's going to be a bit of a 10-day stretch in between this one and the next one. But as usual, we will catch you next time. Thank you as always.
Yes, appreciate you all tuning in. We'll catch you next week. Enjoy all of the football and talk to you soon.